Hi, I'm Teri. Welcome to Key Biscayne Television, Channel 77. Today I have the pleasure of sitting here with Mayor Robert Vernon. Now I know many of you are familiar with the Vernon name because he's been on the Key for 4 generations. But today we're going to get to know the mayor as a person, a little bit more about him. Mayor Vernon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
I understand now your grandfather first came to the Key in 1951?
51, that's correct. When the Mackle brothers were going to develop the island, my grandfather knew them personally, and they suggested he come to Key Biscayne and open a gas station.
A gas station?
A gas station,
Uh-huh.
and because they were going to need a gas station. And he didn't want to open a gas station, but he said he would open a sundry store.
He thought that would be a little bit better along his line.
Exactly. So he started Vernon Sundries in 1951. My father had just gotten out of the Korean War and was in pharmacy school at the University of Florida.
Oh, how apropos.
Yes, and finished in 53 and put the pharmacy in. And at that point on, it became Vernon's Drugstore.
Well, it was a fixture on the Key for many, many years.
Yes,
Everybody's
it was.
got Vernon drugstore stories.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So you were one of the original Key rats, I guess?
Absolutely. I was born here on Key Biscayne in 1958. Lived here my entire life.
No place else?
No place else. Lived for a year in New England.
Uh-huh.
And found that the winter was just too cold for a South Florida boy.
Yep.
So I came home, went to work in the drugstore, essentially, running the day-to-day operation of the business, until we sold it in 1994. And I had been in real estate prior to the sale of the store, so it was an easy transition for me just to continue on there.
Right. And then it was just a natural fit for you.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
And your children, did they were they involved in the store?
No, they were still too young. My oldest was about 8 at the time when we sold it. Youngest 4. So they didn't get to appreciate, the
flavor of it all.
Exactly, especially the soda fountain, which was a landmark staple on Key Biscayne for kids growing up.
Oh yeah, I heard a lot of stories about that soda fountain.
Yes,
and the
yes.
luncheon counter.
Right.
That was quite the meeting place, I think.
Yes, it was.
So Key Biscayne has been kind of a wonderful place for you to grow up and to experience.
It's been fabulous. I've been fortunate enough to raise my own family here, which has been great. My oldest son just graduated from the University of Miami.
I hear.
And my youngest is a freshman at Duke University.
Very impressive.
And we're very proud of both of them and look forward to big things out of both of them as well.
Oh, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now you're in government. What made you run for office? What made you run for the city council? Had you had that leaning or bent before?
I actually didn't. I was approached in the end of 2001 about running in the 2002 election. There was several seats up for re-election. Some of the council members were either termed out or were not going to run again.
Right.
I gave it a lot of thought. I had been a volunteer and served on numerous boards throughout the island for 20 years. Worked in the athletic club for 25 years with kids and figured, you know what, this is my home. It's where I'm raising my family. I think it's something that I should do. I wanted to do it, and once I got the okay from my wife,
that's important.
Yes, we went full steam ahead.
Because it encompasses a lot of time.
Yes, it does. Yes,
it's not just coming to the meetings once a month. There's a lot of things you have to do.
Especially as the mayor.
Yes.
And I was able to serve my first 4 years under Bob Oldakowski, who was very good in preparing me in the time constraints of being the mayor.
Right.
But as much as he told me, it still didn't take effect until I got in there the first year and realized just how much, time you put in as opposed to being a council member.
Right, council member would be different, although that is a lot of time.
Absolutely, it's still a lot of time, but it's maybe 1/5 of the amount of time spent as mayor.
Now you've been mayor for 2 terms?
This is my second term. I will be termed out November 2010.
So
Done.
no
8
more.
years. That would be my 8 years as per the charter. If I was going to or wanted to run again, I would have to sit out a year, and then I could rerun and
so
serve another 8 years.
When you say sit out, you wouldn't be on the city council, nothing?
No, you would have to, remove yourself, and then you could come back in. I have absolutely no plans on doing that.
You probably have a life you want to continue doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to, do some traveling. Both the kids are, we're empty nesters for the first time in our 25 years of marriage, and we want to go do some traveling and share some time with ourselves.
And then go visit those children in college,
Absolutely.
too. That's kind of a nice
fun.
destination
That's always
to
fun.
do.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, being mayor and being on the council, was there anything that was terribly rewarding that you just...
Well, I think the biggest thing that we've tried to accomplish, and I came in at the same time, Councilmember Mendia came in, and we're going into our 8th and final year together, to see what we've been able to accomplish in the sense of when we first took office, we didn't have reserves in this village. We had roughly $200,000 in reserves.
Not nearly enough.
No. We have over 12 million today.
Oh, that's very wonderful.
On top of being able to build our reserves to where they are today, we've been able to build the community center. We've been able to do the sewer project that, didn't get done when we knew we had to have it done. And that will be completed, all things going smoothly forward, the 1st of 2010.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We've been able to redo Crandon Boulevard, purchase 530 Crandon Boulevard for future, green space. We've got Union since we've been on. So, we're now dealing with union contracts. And that's been a very good working relationship with both police and fire, who are fabulous. And, we have, for the first time, a true 5-year CIP we're working on, where we can take some of this money that we have reserved for specific projects and be able to fund those projects without going into the general fund or without going into any additional tax dollars. And we've been able to accomplish all of this at the same time while lowering our millage rate twice, which wasn't done by any council since incorporation. And we've been able to do that twice.
That's a record to be very proud of.
It is, and you're not, I found out very quickly that you cannot make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time.
No.
And although you try and you do your best, in the end, what you're doing and the decisions that I make, I feel are based on the best interests of this community. And at the end of the day, that's all we're asked to do.
Right.
And I think we've been able to do that very well.
I think you've done a tremendous job.
Well,
and
appreciate
then
it.
now when you pass the torch, any words of wisdom that you're going to pass on, like you got passed on to you?
I'll basically let whoever decides to run next term in 2010, I will let them know about the time constraints, because there are a lot of things that not only are you involved with on this island, but as the mayor, you're crossing the bridge.
That's right.
And you're dealing with the city of Miami, you're dealing with the county on a regular basis. You're attending meetings, you're attending functions, you're attending a lot of things that you really don't even necessarily get asked or know about as a council member. The Virginia Key Master Plan, for one thing, is a huge project that potentially has, will or may or may not get done, but it's something that we must be and stay involved in, and we have been for the last 5 years.
That's true, because it affects all of us directly.
Absolutely,
what happens over there.
Absolutely, it does. So, I think that's the single biggest thing. Everybody wants to talk to the mayor.
That's true.
That's part of the job. I know that, and I embrace it. You know, it doesn't bother me one bit. I return every phone call I can get, my emails, and you know. So I think that's the most important thing is especially on our island where you know so many people.
Yes.
And you know, so it's important that your community service is community relations as well. And,
That's right.
and if they reach out to you, respond to them. And I find that even if the response is not what they're looking for, at
happens.
least they appreciate the response.
Right, because we all kind of grew up together here, and we're all
Exactly,
neighbors and
exactly,
friends, and we
exactly.
see each other at the schools and at the post office and at the markets.
Right, right.
So your children now, do you think they're going to be coming back to the Key, do you think?
Well, they actually, the oldest lives here. We got him an apartment.
All right.
And he lives here on the island, and he's deciding now, you know, he just graduated, so, you know, he needs to catch his breath a little bit.
Decide what direction
right,
he's going to go.
Right, and he will either be going to graduate school or L.A. One or the
When you
other.
say LA, you mean Los Angeles?
Los Angeles.
Oh, that's the other side of the
Correct.
the
But
continent.
you know, he graduated with a double major at the University of Miami in film and English, and that's what he wants to pursue.
Very
Behind the
impressive.
camera stuff, writing, producing, directing.
And what a background he'll have growing
yeah,
up on Key
absolutely,
Biscayne, you know,
absolutely.
with all these generations behind him.
Yes, yes. Although he'd look great in front of the camera, he looks a lot like his mother, not his father. Thank goodness. So you know, he very artistic, very, you know, great writer.
Oh, that's
And,
very impressive.
I think he'll be successful.
Now, your sister, I've met her before.
Yes.
She, of course, grew up in the Key with you. Now,
Absolutely,
she still lives here, too?
absolutely. Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
And her
She
family's here also?
does. JP, her oldest son, lives in Manhattan.
That's just up the road a piece,
Yeah,
I
just
suppose.
a little bit. Christine still lives here, but she'll be getting married in November.
Very nice.
And Jenna just graduated the University of Florida, and she too is looking to see, you know, exploring some
Right.
options in the workplace.
Well, I'll bet you they'll all come back. Seems like all Key
Hopefully,
Biscayneers come on back.
hopefully.
What is the best thing about living on the island, do you think?
I think there's a few things that I've enjoyed. You know, as a kid, the ability to pretty much go anywhere you want to go is there without necessarily direct adult supervision. I mean, when I grew up out here, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have pagers,
Right.
we didn't have any way of getting a hold of our parents.
Just one
And-
telephone,
right,
I think.
Exactly, unless we, you know, were at a landline. And none of us as children, we were either in our boats going fishing, or we were in the mangroves behind Calusa Park,
Right.
or, you know, we were out all day long. And that sense of growing up out here, you know, gave me a great perspective on life in general. And, you know, today we have all of the bells and whistles a young boy or girl would want. Our community center is absolutely state-of-the-art.
It is wonderful.
Our athletic programs are very, very well run and competitive. Our, you know, elementary school, although it's, you know, getting squeezed a bit with the amount of children that are moving out here, and they're coming here for these reasons I speak of.
Exactly.
There's a sense of security out here. You know, we have our own police department now, our own fire department now. We control our own millage rate now, so, you know, we're no longer a community that is subject to, you know, county rules, you know, so to speak.
And you can spend your own money, too.
Absolutely, and we get a lot more of that tax money back than we used to.
Well, that's
And
important because you can spend it on things that are good for the community,
Absolutely,
what the people need.
absolutely, and that's exactly what we have done.
And we have that sense of children are safe, they can run around, a sense of
Exactly.
freedom, I guess
Sure,
that's the word.
sure,
They can
sure.
play in the park, watch when the
Yes.
sun goes down, start meandering home.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, I think you've done a wonderful job as mayor. We
Well, I
appreciate it
appreciate
very
that.
much.
I appreciate
And so
that.
October is the date, is that it?
November 2010.
November
So
2010.
I have 14 months.
Oh, you've got them counted.
Right, yeah, but who's counting?
Right, who's counting? Thank you so much for coming by.
Pleasure,
We
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it very much.
Enjoyed it.
And then when you see people on the street, they'll be happy to say, "Hi, Mayor, I saw you on TV."
That's right, that's right.
Multiple times. Thank you for watching. This is Teri, Village of Key Biscayne, Channel 77.